you a song if I got every word perfectly weighted on a thin piece of paper? Would it make any difference? Would it change for the better if I wrote you a poem, if I posted a letter?
Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel, Home Free Alaska. Today we have to do something with all of the strawberries that we picked last week in the video that I shared with you guys when we went strawberry picking at the strawberry patch. So we put a lot of strawberries up in the freezer just for later recipes and snacks, quick snacks. Parker likes to eat frozen strawberries. And we also have fresh strawberries that we cleaned and have available in the refrigerator just to munch on. That's a big fruit that we eat in our family. Strawberries are a part of our breakfast and meals all the time. So I'm really excited to have all those fresh strawberries straight from the vine. They're super sweet. So today I am going to be preserving the rest of the strawberries that we picked, and I'm going to be doing that in the form of making strawberry jam. Strawberry jam is one of my favorite jams. There's a lot of different flavors out there, right? But since I was a little girl, strawberry has just always been my favorite. So every time we go strawberry picking, I make sure to pick enough that I can do a big batch of jam and put it up in the pantry so I've got it for like the next year. Today's recipe is super easy. You're only gonna need 3 ingredients. You're gonna need strawberries, a little bit of water, and some pectin. Now this recipe is a low sugar to no sugar recipe. I don't need all that sugar in my jam. I just don't. Strawberries are naturally sweet. They're also tangy. I personally like the sweet tanginess of the jam when I have it on my toast or whatever. So I don't like to add all of that extra sugar. I mean, a lot of the recipes that you'll find for making jellies and jams just calls for an unnecessary amount of sugar, in my opinion. And as a family, we try as much as we can to stay away from eating all of the processed sugars. Of course, we're not perfect. On my last video, we went out for frozen yogurt. Like, it's just striving to do better, not perfect, because I don't think perfect is possible. But for something like this, when I'm preserving in my kitchen, I can control those ingredients, and I know that I'm trying to make sure that we're not eating a ton of unnecessary sugar. So today's recipe is actually going to be no sugar. I'm not adding any sweetener to this recipe. Now you can add sweetener if you'd like, but I'm not going to today. As always, if you guys are interested in this recipe, I will link the ingredients and how to make it in the video description below, so make sure you check that out. And if you are a first-time canner or new to the canning world and you don't have any of your startup equipment for a simple recipe like this, also check out the description below, because I'll make sure to put links for all of the canning equipment that I'm using today. Today we're using a water bath canning method. We are not pressure canning. You do not need to pressure can jam. We're just going to be water bath canning it. So make sure you check out that video description. I'll have everything linked there for you guys below. Today's a school day here in the apartment stead. Parker and I just got done eating a super quick breakfast and also doing our morning Bible and devotional time. And today, part of our homeschool is he's going to be my handy dandy helper here in the kitchen, and he's going to help me make strawberry jam. And then we'll sit down later this afternoon and we'll knock out math, language arts, and all that boring stuff. So he's excited to hop in here this morning and help me make this jam with you guys. So with that said, let's jump into it. All right, so you're gonna need a simple water bath canner like this with a rack on the bottom. Like I said, ingredients for this recipe, super easy. We've got some water here, and then of course your jars. My jars are cleaning in the dishwasher, and your rings and lids. I'm gonna sanitize these in a few minutes with some boiling water. Next, you're gonna need some low or no sugar pectin. Like I said, you can add sweetener if you want, but I'm choosing to do no sugar today. So this is what the pectin looks like that we're going to be adding to our recipe. And then next up, you're going to need some fresh strawberries. So today I'm working with 4 quarts of fresh strawberries. These are, they're getting older. They probably wouldn't last another couple of days. They're bruised and they're getting nice and soft, but they're super ripe. So jam recipes are perfect when you've got a bunch of fruit that's getting ready to go bad. You can put it up easily. You're gonna need your basic canning equipment. Again, I'll link everything for you guys below if you don't have any of this canning equipment for your kitchen. And my water is boiling, so I love my glass kettle. You guys see me use this all the time. I just fill up a bowl with boiling hot water, let these set on the counter and get nice and clean and sanitized, and that way later on Parker can help me put the lids and rings on the jars. So our first step with this recipe is just cleaning all of our strawberries. We're going to be cutting the tops off of them, cutting them in half, and then we're going to be mashing them up with like a potato masher. Now, you don't have to cut them up because you're going to be mashing them anyway. I just thought for Parker's little hands, it would make it a lot easier for him. Mamas, just a side note here, can I encourage you to get your babies in the kitchen with you? Look at Parker dancing to the music we got going on. He is such a good little cook. It's not always perfect, ladies, but let go of the control and let them have fun. It's so good for them to learn and use these fine motor skills, learning how to use a knife, learning how to cut things without cutting half of the fruit off. When I married Joe, you guys, I didn't even know how to flip an egg. My mom was an amazing cook. She just never really brought me in the kitchen and showed me how to cook. I just always ate her good food. So getting them in the kitchen while they're young is a good thing, and these are lessons and skills that they can take into their adulthood. Now that they're all cut up, we're just gonna mash these down until they're the consistency that we want. And I'll tell you what, Parker had a lot of fun with the mashing. I had to calm him down just a little bit because it was quite messy, but he is so cute and he's having so much fun. He sat here in the kitchen with me the entire time making this strawberry jam. So it's like, you know, spending quality time together and cooking something great that he's gonna enjoy with me, and he can say, I did that, I helped make it. I think it's super special. You seriously do not need sugar in this recipe. It is so sweet. Parker, I'm hoping I have enough for jam because Parker has been eating it like crazy, but it is so sweet already. And if you let the strawberries sit in your refrigerator and ripen even more before you make your jam, the riper they are, the sweeter they get. So these ones are good and ripe and super dark red. You don't need any sugar. All right, you guys, so when you're making your jam, you can either have chunky or you can have not chunky. Chunky or not chunky. I personally like mine to not be chunky because when I'm spreading it on a piece of toast or something, it's just easier to spread if there isn't all kinds of clumps of fruit in there. So today what I'm going to be doing is using my hand mixer, my KitchenAid hand mixer. You guys, I'll link this for you. This thing is awesome. I have a big KitchenAid that goes on the counter, which I use all the time. You guys see that when I'm baking bread and stuff. But sometimes you don't want to take the big mama out. You just want to use the little baby. So I'll link this for you guys. It really comes in handy, especially for something like this. So I'm just going to blend this up, try to get a little bit more of those chunks out of there, and then we're going to head over to the next step. All right, all we're gonna do now is bring our mixture to a boil over high heat, and we're gonna stir in our water and our pectin and just continue to stir constantly until you bring it to a boil, a rapid boil. Now at this point, this is when you would add your sweetener if you're choosing to use a sweetener in your recipe, and then just continue to mix it and bring it back up to a boil. Now this is when a good candy thermometer comes in handy. You can just place it on the side of your pot. Now the gelling point for this recipe, well, for any recipe really, is 220 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want to bring this to a rapid boil. Once you reach the rapid boil, you want to let it boil hard for 1 full minute, and then you want to turn the heat off and remove your mixture from the burner. But make sure you've hit that 220 degrees Fahrenheit so that you get the gel consistency that you want for your jam. Before we can up this jam, we want to take a second to remove all the foam from the surface, and then we're simply going to ladle our jam into our clean, hot, sterilized jars, wipe the rims, get all the air bubbles out, and put our lids and rings on and process our jars. When you're filling your jars, just make sure that you leave at least a 1/4 inch headspace at the top of the jar. That way they'll seal properly when you're processing them. Removing the air bubbles is a super important step, so don't forget to skip over that. And especially when processing jams and jellies, the jars can get super sticky from ladling the liquid in there. So just make sure you wipe off the rims really good so that the lid seals correctly. Just tighten these rings down finger tight, not too tight. And as you can see, I've got my water bath pot already simmering on the stove. You want that water to be at least about 180 degrees Fahrenheit before you put your jars down into the pot. You always want to make sure that you've got at least 1 inch of water above the jars. Once they're all in the canner, we're going to adjust the heat to medium-high and simply cover it and bring the water to a rolling boil. Once the boiling starts, you're going to process your 1/2 pint jars for 10 minutes. Once the processing time is done, you're going to turn off the heat, remove the lid, and let them set for 5 minutes before you take them out of your canner. Now, if the rings have loosened up during processing, don't tighten them back down, just leave them alone and let these set for a good 12 hours or so they can cool. Then remove the rings, check the lids to ensure they sealed, and store them. Label them and store them. That's all there is to it. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video making some strawberry jam with me and little Parker. I am really excited that we have some fresh strawberry jam and that I got the strawberries taken care of, right? Like, I feel like that's always an issue, especially like with harvest season when you have a big garden. Sometimes putting up all the food is like, oh, I gotta get to that and I gotta get to that. And it is never fun when you have to throw something out completely. Like, I remember one time I harvested a big bin of onions and we didn't have a root cellar or anything like that. And you guys, I was just knee deep in fresh milk from my cow, like all kinds of other crops from the garden. And I didn't get to them and they spoiled and got completely disgusting. And I had to throw out the whole bucket. And it's just like, oh, it's so frustrating, right? But you can only do so much. So I'm always very excited when I'm able to make the time to get it done. And like today, those strawberries probably wouldn't have lasted much longer. They were getting pretty soft and pretty bruised. So I'm glad I got those put up today. So for those of you that are a regular part of our YouTube channel, I just wanted to chat with you for a quick second about our new YouTube channel name. You guys know that we recently changed our channel name and I've been wanting to do it for like a super long time. And it's funny because when we started the YouTube channel, it was strictly as a hobby. And we've actually changed the channel name several times. And looking back to what it was and to where we are now with the channel, I know so much more now. I've learned so much, but you learn as you go, right? And like when the channel first started, we named it Amaryllis Acres. And we named it that because I love the amaryllis flower. And so we named it that. But then I just started feeling like it didn't really represent like our family and our homestead. And so I changed it to Blessed and Beautiful Life. And then later on, I decided, well, I want the name Homestead in there. There's a lot of homesteading channels and bloggers even that have Homestead on the end of their name. So I want Homestead on the end of my name because we're homesteaders. So then it became Blessed and Beautiful Homestead. And while Blessed and Beautiful Homestead has meaning behind it, obviously, I do feel we're blessed and I do think our homestead and our family and everything is beautiful. It was a long name already, especially when you add homestead to the end of it. And if you're not very familiar with, vlogging or blogging and, website domains and things like that, it's just more cumbersome the longer that it is. And also I realize that there are a lot of people that don't know how to spell the word beautiful. It's a tough word to spell, right? In fact, Parker's been struggling with that one in his spelling, but a lot of people don't know how to spell beautiful. Or I would be out and about somewhere and somebody would be like, oh, we'd be talking about my channel and they're like, what's your YouTube channel name? And I'm like, oh, it's Blessed and Beautiful Homestead. And they're like, and I'm like, Blessed and Beautiful Homestead. And they're like, oh. And then I found people couldn't remember if it was Blessed and Beautiful or if it was Beautiful and Blessed, and it was just drama. And then the other thing was we had Blessed and Beautiful, and the and was the symbol and, not A-N-D. And I always found myself having to explain that because people would try to email me or something and they would inevitably do A-N-D when it's an and symbol, or they would do an and symbol when it needed to be A-N-D, like for my Instagram name, because you can't do characters, right? So it was just drama. So I was really looking to change our channel name for quite some time. And you guys know I did a little poll a few months ago before we sold the small homestead and asked you guys what you thought and to get suggestions from you guys, because you guys are our channel. And so you guys have really creative brains, and sometimes my personality, y'all, I can just fixate on something and it will make me crazy. Like all my little things, logos, intro graphics, like anything that I do, I spend a lot of time on them, and I'm just really picky about that kind of stuff. So the thought of a new channel name, it's not just changing the channel, it's rebranding essentially. It's changing my email address, it's changing my social media handles. you know, my sponsorships that I have to be updated with the new info. It's just a lot of stuff. All of my logos, all of my this, all of my that. And it's a little stressful. It's a lot of stuff to change over. So I put it off for a long time for obvious reasons. But I got so many good suggestions from you guys for channel names. And one of the things is that we wanted it to have the word Alaska in there somewhere, because we are getting ready, as you guys know, to move to our forever homestead in Alaska. And, you know, unless something crazy happens, we plan on dying in Alaska. Like, we're going to live there forever, God willing, right? So we wanted our name to have Alaska in it to represent more of like where we will be. And then I wanted to get away from having homestead in the name of our channel name. I just wanted to make it shorter. I wanted to make it more catchy, more easy to remember. And so we had one of our amazing subscribers, Gabrielle, you know who you are. She gave us a suggestion of Home Free Alaska. And I was like, and let me tell you guys, there were some really good contenders. Like I said, you guys are so creative and had really cute ideas. I don't know what it was. When I saw Home Free Alaska, for Joe and I both, it just kind of was like, okay, that's catchy. It's got a ring to it. And it has meaning behind it, because home free, when you think of home free, it's like, oh yeah, I'm home free. Like, it's when you've arrived, it's when you've gotten there, it's when you can rest and you can breathe, and it's like you're done with this craziness and now you can like breathe and relax. That's what I think of when I think of home free. And that's how we feel about Alaska. We're getting ready to retire from a super long military career. And for us, it also represents getting away from the crazy busyness of the culture that we find ourselves in right now, and getting out into the wide open spaces, and just being home free. And the word free in of itself means so much to me and Joe. We are a big proponent for freedom and liberty. You guys know us. And so for me, home free just spoke my language. And then Home Free Alaska, it was just perfect. And we just fell in love with this. So I knew months ago that that was the name we were going to choose. I just hadn't done the switch. So I just wanted to, chat with you guys about that for a second. I'm super excited about the name. It rolls off your tongue. It's easier to say. It's easier to spell. It's shorter. So there's a lot of reasons why I love it. And most of all, it's going to really represent our family and what we stand for in our new forever home. I hope you guys like it, and I'm super grateful for your guys' input a few months ago when I did the poll. So with that being said, I will go for now, but I hope you guys enjoyed the strawberry jam recipe today. Don't forget, I'm gonna put links down in the video description for the things I used, and also for the recipe ingredients for this super easy strawberry jam. All right, you guys, take care. Thanks for hanging out with me again today, and I'll see you very soon on the next video.